All right, boys and girls. So right now, I am going to just review with you our number lines. I know I did a video. I collaborated with Miss Ellison on yesterday with our video. So we talked about it in class today. So I just wanted to put another video just so now that you understand a little more, we are going to review and move on from the number lines while still practicing in class. So the best way that you can learn is just practice, practice, practice. So we're just going to review decimals on number lines. After having our discussion in class today, I can see the light bulb shine when you all have expressed how you now understand. So I just want to make sure that we are practicing at home. So please, please, please watch the video, practice at home, and extend your learning from school. So let's get started. So in class, we talked about how one of these, which is a hundredths block, represents one whole when it comes to decimals. Okay, and decimals are pretty much smaller parts, smaller than a one. They're smaller parts, smaller than a whole. So one of these represents one whole in decimals. One of these, the tens, represents 1/10 with a TH. And then one of these represents 1/100th with a TH. So, and the reason why really quickly is because this is one whole. It takes 10 of these to represent one whole. That's why it's called 1/10. And it takes 100 of these to represent one whole, which is why it's called 1/100th, because one is 1/100th of a whole. Okay, so just to review, we said that on a number line, tenths, one of these, are located between whole numbers. So if I had the whole numbers of 4 and 5, that means I'm starting at 4, so I should have, I should have 4 holes. 1, 2, 3, 4 holes. Okay, so if you can see, I have 4 holes. Okay, and they're stacked on top of each other. And out of the 4 holes, I am trying to get to 5. So instead of just putting another hole here and saying 5, I have to create my number line to fill in my in-between numbers, because that's very important for us to know how to count by tenths to fill in those in-between numbers. So we have 4 holes, and we're trying to get 5. So I'm just going to count. So this is a tenth. So now I have 4 and 1/10, and I'm going to add another one. So that's 4 and 2/10. 4 and 3/10, 4 and 4/10, 4 and 5/10, which is also halfway. So this is our midpoint. 4 and 6/10, 4 and 7/10, 4 and 8/10. 4 and 9/10, and now we're equivalent to another whole. So now we can say that we have successfully, 1, 2, 3, 4, reach number 5. Okay, and so we did that by breaking it into smaller parts, which are tenths, and it helped us to get to number 5. So now what we're going to do is transfer our learning from here onto a number line. So now I'm just going to fill in the number line with my tenths, just as I did with my model. So we started out with 4 and 1/10, 4 and 2/10, 4 and 3/10, 4 and 4/10, 4 and 5/10, which is also our midpoint, 4 and 6/10, 4 and 7/10, 4 and 8/10, and 4 and 9/10. And that is going to help us reach to our number 5. Okay? Now, and that's just an example of the tenths. Now moving on to our hundredths. So if tenths are located between our whole numbers, well, our hundredths are going to be located between our tenths. So what we're going to do is, once again, look at some examples. So I'm going to show you with our base 10 models first, and then we're going to put it on a number line. So first we need to zoom in. So since we're looking between 2 tenths, let's zoom in really quickly. So I'm going to zoom in between 4 and 2 tenths and 4 and 3 tenths. So with our models, this is what we are going to explore. So once again, I have my 4 holes, because 4 and 2 tenths means 4 holes and 2 tenths. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Here are my holes. So 4 holes. Okay. And then because of the place values, it has 2 tenths. Okay. So the object is for us to get to 4 and 3 tenths. So here I'm starting with 4 and 2 tenths. So because we are going to use our hundredths, well, when I look at 2 tenths and I break them apart into smaller pieces like this, I should see that one of these broken apart is 10, right? So that represents 10 hundredths, okay? And if I break this one apart again, that's 10 more hundredths. So I also see 4 tenths, but I also see 4 and 2 tenths, but I also see 4 and 20 hundredths, if that makes sense. So what I did, I just broke apart, mentally, broke apart my tens into my smaller units. If I broke each of these apart, it'll still be 10. And I have 2 of those, so 10 plus 10 equals 20. So I see 4 and 2 tenths, but I also see 4 and 20 hundredths. Okay? So according to here, since I zoomed in, I'm trying to get from 4 and 2 tenths to 4 and 3 tenths, or 4 and 20 hundredths, to 4 and 30 hundredths. So here I see 4 and 20 hundredths because I'm going to be using my hundredths to model, so I'm counting with my hundredths. So I see 4 and 20 hundredths. So now I'm going to count to 4 and 21 hundredths, 4 and 22 hundredths, 4 and 23 hundredths, 4 and 24 hundredths, 4 and 25 hundredths, 4 and 26 hundredths, 4 and 20, get in there, 4 and 27 hundredths, 4 and 28 hundredths, 4 and 29 hundredths, and 4 and 30 hundredths, which is the same as 4 and 3 tenths. So here is our visual model. Now we're going to place it on a number line. Okay? So here is my number line. Remember, we zoomed in, so we're going to bring 4 and 2 tenths here, and 4 and 3 tenths here. But we also said 4 and 2 tenths is the same as 4 and 20 hundredths. And this is the same as 4 and 30 hundredths. And in between, we just counted each one by one. So we started with 4 and 20 hundredths. And we counted 4 and 21, 4 and 22, 4 and 23. Okay? So then now we're going to do the same here. So we have 4 and 21 hundredths, 4 and 22 hundredths, 4 and 23 hundredths, 4 and 24 hundredths, 4 and 25 hundredths, which is also our midpoint, 4 and 26 hundredths, 4 and 27 hundredths, 4 and 28 hundredths, 4 and 29 hundredths, and then 4 and 30 hundredths. Okay? So, boys and girls, I'm going to give you some practice problems, of course, for you to practice writing numbers on a number line. So, I'm going to give you some practice points. Okay. So, here are your practice number lines. Here's one for whole numbers. So remember we said if we're doing whole numbers, okay, the whole numbers, and you're trying to count in smaller parts, you should be counting by tenths, okay? And if you have your tenths, so such as 8 and 6 tenths, you should be breaking those into smaller parts, into hundredths to count by. So think to yourself, 8 and 6 tenths is the same as how many hundredths? 8 and 7 tenths is the same as how many hundredths? Okay? Boys and girls, I wish you well, and I will see you in class tomorrow. Bye.